Hi, I'm Jazz Obrecht, and welcome to my Talking Guitar podcast featuring two vintage interviews with Billy Cox, who was Jimi Hendrix's best friend and bass player before and after the experience. Billy and Jimi had first met in the U.S. Army, and then they roomed together in Nashville and played R&B gigs together. After Jimi found worldwide fame with the experience, he hired Billy to replace Noel Redding. That's Billy you hear playing bass alongside Jimi at Woodstock, the Band of Gypsys concerts, and Jimi's later recordings. A few words about how these interviews came down. In 1989, while I was working at Guitar Player magazine, Rykodisc offered us an opportunity to include a tear-out record featuring an unreleased version of Jimi's blues masterpiece, Red House. I decided to build a cover story around the theme of Jimi playing blues and reached out to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Joe Satriani, Noel Redding, and Billy Cox, who all agreed to share their thoughts for the cover story. Billy and I spoke by phone for the first time on February 23rd. A few days later, Billy's wife Brenda contacted me and said Billy had more to say, so we did a follow-up interview. This podcast begins with the first phone interview. Before we spoke, Billy had prepared a handwritten statement that he shared with me, and I'd like to read this to you now because it's the first thing we reference when we start talking. Billy wrote, "There are those who come before the public eye and are commercialized into the consciousness of the masses. We are told they are popular, and we echo, they are popular. Then there are a few who are so intuitively tuned into the universe that they are still influential, even though they are beyond sight. This is immortality, and Jimi Hendrix is immortal. It is exciting to know that the world has yet to truly be exposed to Jimi's genius. Maybe one day, the overshadowing rumors that are used by some to cloud his image will be replaced by an understanding of the man I knew, a child of the universe, a guitar master, a warm and gentle soul." Okay, here's the first interview.
Hey, Jazz, how are you?
Hey, Billy, how are you?
Okay.
Thanks so much for helping us with this.
Oh, okay, anytime.
I liked your little writing.
Okay, we just, piece it all together.
I was curious what the reference to those who would cloud his image is about.
Well, it's in reference to the mystique of the acid under the headband, the OD, the heroin in the eyeball, the classic, and it seems as though they...
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've heard all these rumors,
Yeah,
These rumors persist, and I think this clouds the real genius of Jimi Hendrix, the rumors that persist. And a lot of these rumors were just rumors that were just put out, something to talk about in the 60s.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Billy, I wanted to know, perhaps you're the only one who can answer this. Do you know anything about the origins of the song Red House?
Red House?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a blues number that Jimmy put together. It didn't have any significance about, as far as I know, it didn't have any significance about any particular person, place, or thing. It was just a blues song.
Do you know roughly when the first time you heard it was?
I don't know.
Here's the question. People are starting to say now that Jimi's playing was really rooted in the blues from the beginning.
Yes, it was.
Is that what you observed?
Yeah, well, when he, I think originally, when we first started playing, the only songs that we basically jammed on from the very, very beginning were blues songs because musically we were limited, at that particular time, as far as repertoire, and basically he was an R&B player, rhythm and blues player. That was his roots.
Now, do you remember him telling you anything about who his favorite blues players were or his views on the blues?
Slim Harpo, especially.
Is this back in the Army days?
Slum Harpo, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Albert King, B.B. King.
Do you remember anything he said about any of those guys?
Just that they were, they were great blues men. I mean, a lot of songs that we initially, songs that we started playing were songs by those guys. That's where we started. That was point A. Graduated into the, I guess, call it the top 40 rhythm and blues, and then into a lot of pop numbers on.
Do you think there's any events that changed his course away from the blues? The artists he heard or something that may have happened to?
Well, I don't think he see, what Jimmy played, even the current stuff he played was nothing but blues. It was just amplified blues from, now that's my personal opinion, I don't know. From Lover Man to Dolly Dagger. That's blues. Now, someone else could call it whatever, but as far as I was concerned, it was nothing but blues.
Now, when you were with the band, was Red House part of the repertoire?
Yeah, definitely so.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, we did Red House at the Isle of Wight. We did Red House at the Atlanta Pop Festival. We did Red House at all of the Midwest tours. I think we did Red House at the Forum in L.A. I've recently got most of these tapes in order now. And, so that was the regular part of the... You mean you're referring to our last tours and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Now, the live at the Winterland dates, that was with the Experience, right?
Yes, it was.
Now, back with the Experience, Red House would typically go from 10 to 14 minutes on stage. Was it the same thing with your band?
Yeah, uh-huh.
How much was that structured?
With Red House itself?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, it was such a long jam. Did the band know when to drop out and when to come back in, or would you watch Jimmy for a signal?
Yeah, we kind of felt it when we got tired. We'd probably look up at about the same time and say, "Oh, it's about time." In fact, we did most of the songs like that. Basically, when I got with Jimmy toward the last period of his life, we played more by feel than anything else. Of course, we had a structure. We rehearsed constantly, but we knew where we were going. But most of the time, it was by feel. We just jammed, and as long as it was feeling good, then when we got to the point, or maybe Jimmy got to the point, or even myself, I guess he could feel that it became monotonous. And I think like I say, sometimes I'd look up or he'd look up or whatever. We just felt it was about time to end that song.
Well, what did Jimmy? How did he convey what he wanted from you?
Huh?
How did he convey to you what he wanted?
On stage or off stage?
Either way.
Well, we ran over. I think we constantly rehearsed. We were constantly rehearsing in the hotel rooms and on the road and back in the studio, and it was, it's something that we enjoyed doing, and therefore, a lot of those patterns or riffs and melodic lines we went over and over and over because it became a part of it. And, it was just, I don't know, it's difficult to really explain all that. It came together, that's all.
Yeah.
We practiced a lot.
Did you tune your bass a half step lower?
Yeah. We were always tuned a half step lower because in the standard tuning, it was very difficult. Jimmy had to do a lot of straining when it came to singing. So since he said, well, hell, since there's only two musical instruments up there, hell, we can tune down. I said, hey, good idea. We always tuned down. No one knew the difference.
Also, it made his strings a little bit looser.
It made his strings looser, and then plus he could sing
Huh. Did you notice that Jimmy was playing differently with you than he did with Noel?
No, I never played with him and Noel. So
no, I mean, as you listen nowadays.
Oh, yeah. He was a little more energetic. I guess Noel was a good bass player, but also I guess he felt more at home with me. It was like, a homecoming, or a home. He was more relaxed.
It seems like you gave more room to Jimmy to speak, too.
Yeah, whatever. Matter of opinion. But I think he felt relaxed and more at home. And if he made a wrong turn, then he I'd turn with him,
Was there pressure on you to do experience material, or was it more emphasis on the new stuff?
I just enjoyed playing either one of them. I took it upon myself to learn all of the stuff he had done previously, and I enjoyed doing the stuff that we the stuff that we worked on. It was, it was fun. It was not a job. It was something. I became a musician because I enjoyed the camaraderie of other musicians, and I enjoyed playing my instrument. And music being universal language, I just, I enjoyed doing it. So it was not really no pressure playing.
Now, with this cover story, Billy, we're going to have a little plastic record in there, of the experience doing Red House at the Winterland date. Not the one on the compact disc, but another version.
Yeah.
And we were wondering if you can recall Jimmy saying anything about the Winterland dates at all.
No.
No, I didn't think so. But I was told to ask. Now, going to the song Red House, what was the difference between that song and Bleeding Heart?
Bleeding Heart was Bleeding Heart. Red House was Red House. In fact, Bleeding Heart, Jimmy and I, we went over it a few times, but I don't think we ever really, did that particular version. It's just like, I think in comparison, if you compare it, it would be compared to Rock Me All Night Long and Lover Man,
Were those songs in the same key?
Which one?
Bleeding Heart and Red House?
I don't remember right now.
I think he played Red House in what would be a B if he was tuned regular.
It was B natural.
B natural?
Will be if, yeah, right, if we were tuned regular, right.
So he'd be in B flat if you weren't playing along with it.
Yeah, right.
One of the things I'm really amazed at when I listen back to the various Red House versions is that it's the incredible amount of blues he's playing all the way through it. It's not just the case where someone's playing 12 bars and then they solo really great.
Right. Well, a lot of people kind of get, getting kind of mixed up, I think, in some form or fashion because, first of all, going back to Red House, the early blues singers, if you study, blues or early blues or anything, they always sang about a red house. Their Red House songs, I don't know why.
Wasn't that like a whorehouse?
Yeah. Whatever, They always had something about, Red House. Or, you hear that quite often in songs. You hear Killing Floor often in those early blues, especially the Delta blues singers.
Right.
They sang about the killing floors, and they sang about red houses, and they sang about, there were certain things they sang about more than other things. And just like I was saying, I think Jimi Hendrix himself, you can call him what you want, but he was a blues master. That's what he was. So you take the blues and, take that type of playing, and then you run it through a fuzz space, a loud amp, and what do you have? You have something that somebody else may interpret as something else, but it's really nothing but blues.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
What's the best approach to have on bass when you were playing with him on a blues tune?
Best approach?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
If a guy's going to play bass with a red-hot blues guitar player, right? What's the best attitude to have when you start playing?
Well, you support the guitar player. It's just supporting, that's all. I mean, it's very difficult to. I mean, not very difficult, but it's bass is not necessarily. I mean, you take your little solos from time to time, but it's not a lead instrument. The guitar is a lead instrument, so basically, your job is to support that lead instrument. I don't know.
Have you done any recordings since the story we ran a couple of years ago, Billy?
I did that. That album I did.
Yeah, we wrote about the album.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, I've been back and forth in the studio doing different things with different artists. I haven't done anything on my own. I've played behind various people.
Are you doing much playing these days?
A little, not a lot, not a lot.
Any musical plans on the horizon?
Yeah, well, we still have our group together, and we've got a few things. In fact, I just came. Last gig the group had was when we were in New York, August, September. We were in New York. That's about the last time my group as a whole has worked.
What was it billed as?
Billy Cox's Band of Gypsys.
Did you have the same guitar player?
Same guitar player as when? The album from the album?
Yeah.
No, this is a different guitar player.
Were you doing some work with Mitch Mitchell for a while?
No, never. Me and Mitch haven't worked together since the 70s. Yeah, right. Since the 70s.
I thought maybe I read about a reunion gig with Randy Hansen and you and Mitch.
Yeah, well, it was Randy Hansen and Mitch and someone else, but not me.
Oh, really?
In fact, I haven't even seen Mitch since 1970.
Have you seen Randy?
No, I've talked with him on the phone, but I haven't seen.
Oh, you never saw a show?
No.
Uh-huh.
I've got some cassettes here that someone sent me, and sounds pretty good.
Is your album still available? Because I'd like to put that in the story if people want to order it.
His album, yeah, it's still available.
Same box number where I wrote you?
Post office box, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, Billy. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah, well, I hope, I hope I helped you out in some small way. I don't know.
This issue, it's a cover story, but our point isn't to retell the Jimi Hendrix story. It's to give people this record of music they've never heard before, and then talk about Jimmy as a blues player and as the author of Red House.
Yeah, that's what he was. Jazz. I mean, a lot of people say, well, he's a hard rock player. Well, you can call it that if you like. Underneath all of that amplification, there stands this, this blues man.
I know, it's like
a hell of a blues man.
It's like Voodoo Child to me isn't very far away from Muddy Waters.
That's all it is. It's blues.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can hear different things in the song, and I think that's what perhaps may give it other characters or other. And since he was so hot on a guitar, then you're saying, well, wait a minute here. We've never heard blues play like this. And I think a lot of people say, well, this is blues or something else, again. But
yeah.
Whatever.
Have you heard that new album called Radio One?
Radio One. Do we have Radio One?
It's a compact disc.
No, I haven't. No,
and it was early stuff in the studio with the Experience, and he does a couple of Muddy Waters tunes that are real interesting.
Yeah.
A Rolling Stone is one of them.
Well, see, those early blues masters was his early influence about him.
Do you know if he ever met any of those guys?
I think he played with Slim Harpo. He told me he played with Slim Harpo for a couple of days.
Oh, I bet that was thrilling.
Yeah, and it's strange because in 1966, I played on Slim Harpo's album.
No kidding.
Yes, played on the album called what was the name of Slim Harpo's album? No, that's okay. But it was just
What kind of guy was he?
Oh, he was a fine fellow and a master on a harmonica. That's why they call it Slim Harpo, because he was good on a harp.
When you and Jimmy were staying in Nashville, did you have any blues records?
That's all I had, and I think a lot of the guys used to laugh at us, because really they were basically, Jimmy and I were not from the South, but our early influences were. I liked Jimmy Reed more, so I really liked Jimmy Reed's style, and I think I've been running that song on my album was influenced by Jimmy Reed's style, and I think a lot of the musicians, some of the musicians would laugh at us. My defense was, well, you can laugh if you want to, but this guy goes to Europe 4 times a year and lives in a $200,000 home.
Hard to argue with that.
You're right.
Do you recall any of the blues records that were around back then? Favorites? Besides Jimmy Reed?
Not really. He liked Jimmy Reed also. In fact, even I think we got more into a lot of B.B. and Albert King. In fact, I used to keep a cassette with me and all these cassettes of blues, and we'd play them in the limos while we were waiting for red lights or going from airport to the hotel from wherever. So we were constantly covered with the masters.
Would he get excited when he heard a great Albert King lick?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember the facial expressions he gave, because Albert just gets out of sight with something. And Jimmy really liked that.
I can hear a lot of similarities in their attitudes. You know? Yeah. Wow, that's great.
So, whatever.
Thanks so much, Billy.
Okay, Jazz.
I'll be sure to send you a copy.
All right, well, thank you very much, and help us out with our album.
Will do.
All right, take it easy.
Take care.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye.
In our second interview, Billy relates a wealth of details about Jimmy's journeyman years as an R&B player. He recalls Jimmy's favorite blues musicians, their adventures living together in Nashville, Jimmy's first guitars, how they backed blues artists in Nashville clubs, and their band, which was called the King Kasuals. He explains that Jimmy was such a compulsive player that people nicknamed him Marbles. Billy remembers their friendship with great fondness, and in an aspect of Jimmy that's rarely been covered, he talks about Jimmy's spiritual beliefs. The second voice you'll occasionally hear is Billy's wife, Brenda. I hope you enjoy this.
Hey, Jazz, how you doing?
Good, Billy. How are you?
Okay.
So, did Brenda speak with you about some of the stuff we were going to try to talk about?
Yeah,
Did you have any thoughts on it, Billy?
Yeah, I had a few, because, when you sent your letter, when it came, I was, I had thought about some other things. Really, I'm reaching back, well, really sometimes some 30 years,
Wow, yeah.
So, sometimes it's hard to get all that out. Sometimes I have to take time and reflect upon that.
Well, I'm glad you were willing to do it, to be honest.
Okay, no problem.
One of the things I was wondering about were the record influences and the early blues guys he was into.
The early blues what?
The early blues performers that you two listened to.
I don't know. I think the early ones were the Howlin' Wolf, the Lightning Hopkins, the Muddy Waters, and Elmo James, and all those guys. I think kind of influenced blues. Was I think I think I said it before. It was a part of our being. I think we gravitated toward the blues, and we really loved it. I think there's blues itself has.
I have some names here that Bill rattled off the other day that they had played with he and Jimmy. Jimmy had played with Nancy Brown, Schoolboy, and Schoolboy, Carla Thomas.
Carla Thomas.
Both Bill and Jimmy. And Jimmy, Ironing Board Sam.
Ironing Board Sam.
Ironing Board Sam.
Huh.
Ironing Board. In fact, we worked at the Del Morocco, and Ironing Board Sam played on the weekend. Well, he played upstairs on Sunday only, and he got so people, by popular demand, then he started working on the weekend downstairs with us, and we had an opportunity to work with him also.
What was the name of your band at that time, Billy?
It was the King Kasuals.
The King Kasuals?
What was the band you guys formed at Fort Campbell with the drummer?
Do you remember around what year this would have been?
That was in 1962, 63.
Were you playing blues in that club at all?
Yeah, we were. We were playing blues and R&B. It was called the Del Morocco.
Which of you sang?
We had Jimmy was too timid to sing, and they laughed at me when I sang. So we had a singer named Harry Bachelor.
Can you spell that?
B-A-T-C-H-E-L-O-R.
E-L-O-R?
B-A-T-C-H-E-L-O-R. And we had two guitar players, bass, drums, and a saxophone.
Was Jimmy already stepping out of the conventional guitar role to do stranger things?
We were poor musicians then. I was the electronics man with the group, so I built him a 50 or 75 foot, what was the longest board they were selling at the time, was a Radio Shack, and put him some quarter-inch plugs on the end, and he could leave his amp and go, the club was not that large club. I think the seating capacity was maybe 150, and he could leave the club and go outside and play on the sidewalk, and then he'd do his feedback. He couldn't afford a wah-wah, so his feedback by coming back in and playing his guitar on top of the amp, which gave him a lot of sustained feedback. And at that time, people didn't know whether to clap or walk out, but they knew he was.
And Bill has told me at that time that they nicknamed Jimmy Marbles.
Marbles?
Marbles, because he walked up the street with an electric guitar, so playing guitar. He'd play it in the show. He'd play it coming back from the theater. It was like, I think I saw him put 25 years in the guitar in 5 years, because it was a constant, everyday occurrence with him.
Did you say marbles or Marlboros, like the cigarette?
Like marbles, M-A-R-B-L-E-S.
Where'd that name come from?
Well, some of the people called him crazy. They thought he was crazy because they couldn't understand why a man would constantly be playing a guitar all the time. They thought he was,
Have some screws loose or something like that. His elevator didn't go to the top.
But basically what he was doing, he knew that he had to make this instrument an extension of his body. Get used to it, like people learn how to whistle. Then he learned to play the guitar like a person would whistle. You have your lips with you all the time. They whistle.
Do you remember him playing along to any blues records? Or like working at copying an Albert King lick or something?
Yes, we did that sometimes. He'd come down the house and sit around and Jello, strawberry upside down cake, and we'd pull out an Albert King or a B.B. King and maybe a lick or two. There's a lot of times at that time people liked to hear stuff that was current. So Bobby Blue Bland, Albert King, B.B. King were very fashionable and popular at that particular time. You were talking before about how you came up with Red House or something.
Yeah, right.
I just gotten up anyhow. My mind wasn't really screwed on right
No
now.
problem.
But, there are recurring blues themes that are constantly sung about. And that's like, it's always a red something, a red rooster, a red light, a red house, 3 o'clock in the morning, big leg woman, big hip woman, mojo, hoodoo, root, the man, a two-timing woman, two-timing man. That's recurring blues themes. And you got low down dirty blues, then you have regular blues, uptown blues, and low down dirty blues. Now, regular blues weren't that suggestive, and our parents, wouldn't unplug their radio to B.B. King's Sweet 16. But if you brought in the house something like Hoochie Coochie Man, or Big Leg Woman, or even Jimi Hendrix's Red House, if my baby don't love me, I know her sister will. And that's low down blues, and where your morality is in jeopardy.
Right.
And you're subject to get your radio pulled out or your record's broken. That's low down blues.
Yeah, I relate to that.
Up down blues, like guys like Joe Williams, things like that. So I like to clarify that.
Was Jimmy a real fan of the low down stuff, I assume?
Yeah, well, it was evident by Red House.
Uh-huh.
His other blues, I guess, was kind of disguised because he revolutionized blues.
In what respect?
He took it to another level, which, he heard and he thought it should be there. And I think this is what was part of his uniqueness or great. All of the changes that he made basically were improvised. So just like I say, he revolutionized blues. He took it to another step. And I think someone was interviewed here not too long ago. Well, I say long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago. I don't know if it was John Lee Hooker or someone said they really admired the blues that he was playing.
Do you know if Jimmy ever met, say, Muddy Waters, Lightning, John Lee?
Yeah. I wasn't around, but I think he had opportunity to meet. Let me see. I did Slim Harpo's album. I think the best of Slim Harpo. So I played on maybe about 4 or 5 or 6 of those songs. It was on Excello, and it's record 8010. And I think Slim Harpo came to the place called the Scene in New York, and me and Jimmy had an opportunity to really, rap with him. Before then, he had talked to Muddy Waters and a few of the other blues masters, and not too long ago, John Lee Hooker was here at Vanderbilt, and he went back to, Jimmy. So Jimmy, he was a fan of Jimmy's, and Jimmy was a fan of his.
And it was really cute. John Lee Hooker, he said to Bill, "You still playing that boy bass? You still playing that bass, boy?" He said a few words.
That's funny.
Okay, I have a note here that you like to use that Bill talked about the other day when we talked.
Uh-huh.
He said that Jimmy revolutionized the blues. Maybe some wanted to call his music something else because Jimmy's blues had a different packaging, amplified sound. Maybe another of the reasons was his youth, also his style and his social awareness.
Uh-huh.
And then he listed some other songs in addition to Red House that he considers to be blues. Voodoo Child.
Definitely.
Dolly Dagger.
Interesting.
Two-timing woman. Up from the Sky. And Lover Man.
What about, Billy, remember the last song on side 2 of The Cry of Love? There were 2 blues tunes on that record, weren't there?
Yeah, what was it? I kind of forget.
I'm riding through Harlem on a bicycle built for fools.
Oh yeah, That was almost a low down dirty blues.
That was definitely the blues. You know, one of the most amazing cuts I've seen is that videotape of Jimmy playing a 12-string acoustic guitar.
Yeah, right. I saw that. Right.
Do you remember him playing acoustic?
Yeah, he used to sit around in his apartment with jam and put things on tape recorder and come up with something. And he liked to do that.
Do you still have any of those tapes?
Yeah, I have a few.
With Jimmy on acoustic?
Yeah, I've got some stuff with him on.
Well, the only one in the world.
Well, I captured a lot of things that we did, and I just, throw it away, and sometimes I'll get the spirit and I'll pull them out and I'll listen to them.
And maybe someday someone will think he'll have some insight on Jimmy's life and maybe see fit to publish it. But I don't think right now, from the way it's looks, anyone thinks he has anything to say. Can you imagine?
I just think it's wonderful that even exists. Because I asked Alan Douglas about if any of those, if there were any tracks of Jimmy on acoustic, and he said he's never found any.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this like isn't a track. This is like with a Sony tape recorder.
Right.
That I had, and a little tape recorder he had, and it would, I think we went over a few songs, a few changes. So it's talking, and oh yeah, let's do it this way, and let's try this. So it's not like put it down and you got 5 minutes to play.
Right, right.
You got a bunch of background noise. This old lady hollering, do you guys want who wants milk and who wants juice?
And one he had where Jimmy said, pass me that orange drink.
Billy, did you ever see Jimmy play slide guitar?
Yeah, he did that too.
Did you ever know him to play in an open tuning?
Not that I recollect, because see, he was ambidextrous, whereby he could play his guitar where he turned it with the E string on the top. Then he'd take my bass, the way it gets strung, turn it around and play it. I never could understand how he did that.
So he'd play your bass upside down.
He'd take my bass, just turn it upside down and play the heck out of it. I said, how do you do that? Then you have to take your string and put your E on the top. You turn mine upside down, and the E's the other place, and he still plays. So he could
he take
slide guitar without tuning what they call Westerpool or whatever.
Could he take a regular right-handed guitar and play it without restringing it?
He could.
That's amazing.
The guy was just incredible.
Well, no doubt about that.
He was incredible. He was the Van Gogh of guitars.
Now, do you know if he ever met Albert King?
I don't know. I talked to Albert here not too long ago, and well, no, I wouldn't say long ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago. Last time I saw Albert, and he said it was too bad about that boy. So I think they ran across each other's paths.
Well, I can hear it in Jimmy's playing sometimes.
Yeah.
Where he must have been a powerful influence on him.
He was very, very powerful, because I like the blues so well, and I still love it. And I kept cassettes of all the blues masters, and I played them all the time because that was a part of my heritage. My father played little harmonica. My uncle played guitar, and I love the blues.
Billy, do you ever remember people referring to it as devil's music?
No, not really.
No?
No. The people that were around, they never. Well, I guess so. Maybe the so-called Christian community probably may have referred. Well, they refer to any music other than gospel or religious music as being devil. Yeah.
Was Jimmy aware of Robert Johnson?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was.
Yeah, he was aware of him. He was aware of Led Belly, and he was aware of Elmo James, as he spoke of him.
It's funny if he liked Elmo, but he never recorded with a slide.
Yeah. Well, I think that was plans to be. There was so much to do, so much for Jimmy to do in the future, so much more music to come. And unfortunately, at 27, there he was, and at 35, God, no telling what he could have presented.
No kidding. I've often thought of that.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how guys like Jimmy or Charlie Christian or Robert Johnson only have a couple of years?
Right.
And then they're gone.
Maybe fate says maybe it's supposed to be that way. Maybe it's just supposed to happen like that because they were so far ahead of the masses. And I've got some things that we, even little intricate things that we had planned on doing, say a couple years from then that we never had an opportunity to do. And I'm going to put some things together for the next album. kind of put some of these things together. And if somebody buys it, good. If they don't, I really don't. Doesn't make any difference.
I really hope you'll let me help on that. At least write it up in the mag and all that.
We appreciate what you've done for us.
Hey, you talk about Jimmy being a very enlightened musician ahead of his time.
Uh-huh.
Did he seem that way on any other level besides music?
Besides music?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. His spirituality, his whole psyche was that of someone from some place, from some other planet. If I might say that.
Do you think he felt that way about himself?
Yes, he did. Because he spoke to me many times about, his dreams that he's had and where he went in his sleep last night or the night before. Things that people don't like to talk about because a lot of people are not ready for it. You see.
Was he religious, do you think, when he was young?
Sure, he had to be. Because the times he spoke about the supreme being. I wouldn't say necessarily religious, just spiritual.
That sure comes across in his music.
Yeah, it does. It came across in his personality.
Can you cite a couple of what you think would be the best blues songs that you appeared on record with Jimmy with? Do any come to mind?
Well, as I said before, I thought everything on there was blues.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I mean, everything was right from the soil, right from the depths of mankind. I don't know. I guess all that, I consider Jimmy as a blues master. That's my personal opinion of him. Everybody else, wants to categorize him in some other form or fashion, but to me, he was my favorite blues player.
And you were his oldest friend, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed playing with him. See, it was not a job.
Right.
It was a pleasure because I can't even think of a guitarist nowadays that gave me that type of playing pleasure on stage. And I like I told Brenda, I said, well, after when you play so long and then after the feeling's gone, if I get to the point where I just don't enjoy it anymore, then I'm going to quit. I mean, I still enjoy playing, but I really got off with Jimmy. If he'd have paid me, like I say, $1 a night, I still would have played. Because I really enjoyed that. And when the first, the story goes way back, when I first heard those first notes coming out of this obscure service club at Fort Campbell, I said, this is something special. And I went in and introduced myself, and it was the start of a friendship that lasted a lifetime.
Yep.
Because I heard something that nobody else heard.
Billy, you have given us a wonderful interview.
Okay.
I really want...
Did you know the name of his early guitar?
What's that?
Jimmy's early guitar?
No.
He named it?
No.
It was Betty Jean. And it wound up in a music store in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I went there last year. And the guy still runs the same store. He's a little older now, because he was in his 20s then. And we searched all upstairs and in the back for that particular guitar because he didn't even know who that guitar belonged to.
What kind of guitar was it?
It was a silver tone, painted red, and had Billy Jean on it and Betty Jean. And we couldn't. We're looking for that. We know it's somewhere in Clarksville.
Do you know when he used that?
He used that all through the service, up to a year after we got out of the service. And we were making a little bit of more money than I co-signed for him, and then he traded that in and got a Fender. It wasn't a Strat, it was a Fender.
Jaguar?
No, it was a Fender. No, it wasn't. It was an Epiphone.
Did he spell Betty with a Y?
Uh-huh.
Too much. I've never heard that.
Well, that was his childhood sweetheart.
Uh-huh.
Betty Jean.
Betty Jean.
Betty Jean. That was his girlfriend in high school.
No kidding.
Also, the man that owns the place where Jimmy, the pawn shop or what music store, wherever it is, that Jimmy hawks the guitar.
No, he traded it.
He traded it, but he still has this receipt that they signed. He has kept that receipt all these years.
Oh, cool.
And he framed it.
Do you know the name of the store?
What's the name of it? Well, there's one. Only one music store in Clarksville. God. I forget.
Huh. How interesting.
There was only one music store in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Well, Billy, thanks so much for your help.
Okay.
And Bill wanted to say also that he was very pleased with that the Vice President Quell said he was a fan of Jimi Hendrix.
That's right.
Yeah, he did. And that's, hey, how about that?
Isn't it amazing to hear how many guys play like Jimmy now?
Yeah.
That's really something.
Yeah, I hear it. A lot of fun.
Yep.
And God bless.
God bless him. Thanks so much, Billy and Brenda.
Dad. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This concludes my 1989 interviews with Billy Cox. Before signing off, I want to thank Billy and his wife Brenda for being so gracious and accommodating all those years ago. I also want to express my thanks to the Southern Folklife Collection and my podcast producer, Nick Hunt. This podcast is copyright 2025 by Jazz Obrecht, all rights reserved. Thanks for listening.